Hello, and good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of the Ride Along Radio Show. This has got to be like show 80 or 80s or something. I don't know.
You're approaching 100.
I've lost count. We're coming. Yeah, we got to get back on track and figure it out, because when we do show 100, we want to have a live studio audience in here and see what happens. We'll have some Steve Wilco type security in here to keep the peace, and we'll make it happen. So, hey, I'm George Holt, host of the Ride Along Radio Show. And to my right is
JB Williams,
who has been a policeman for a very long time. We both, he's still active. I was on the job for 25 years, worked a bunch of different assignments, and worked a couple different departments and held a couple different ranks and did all that. And now I'm retired, so I can speak freely, unencumbered by department politics and rules and guidelines and all that kind of stuff.
Well, so, lucky you, George. The opinions that I express are those solely of mine and not of any law enforcement agency,
right,
public entity.
Employing or otherwise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Well, see, and I don't have to give that disclaimer. And also, those of you who may have worked with me knew that I never cared anyway. I would always say what I wanted to say, which has probably held me back in my career, but it worked out so well for me that I can't be upset about it.
I understand. But I also understand why my organization would want to make sure that whatever it is I say is consistent maybe with their views, but because I am not in my official capacity, just
right,
as a subject matter expert.
Sure.
I am, and I am on my own time, and I'm off duty.
That's right, off duty.
Right.
You can look at that shirt and tell he's off duty.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, you know what? If you want to say something, just write it down on a piece of paper, and I'll say it for you.
Oh, thank you.
So, see, then we'll have that filter there, or that barrier for you. So, one of the things we do, and we were off the air last week, but one of the things we do is we talk about, we do a recap, and we do social media feedback from the show before. So 2 weeks ago when we were on, we talked about the Tamir Rice shooting and the fact, you guys may remember that happened in Cleveland, Ohio, back in 2015, early 2016. Actually, I believe it was like November 2015. And we talked about the fact that two officers had been disciplined, one for that incident, the other one allegedly not for that incident, but really for that incident. Kind of like O.J. Simpson sitting in prison for murder and not robbery. Oh. One of those kind of capers, right? Where they couldn't get him on this, but they got him on that, and they kind of circumvented justice to do it. So anyway, we talked about that, and here's a kind of a quick recap of the Tamir Rice situation. Tamir Rice is 14 years old, and he had a gun, and he didn't have a real gun. He had a pellet gun. And he was in a park outside the rec center, and he had the gun, and I don't know what he was doing with it, but it was visible, and it was out in his hand, etc. Keep in mind, it's a 14-year-old boy. Well, someone called the police on him because they probably couldn't tell that he was a kid because, he was pretty big for his age, I understand. He's like 5'10" or something like that. So they probably didn't think. They probably thought it was some grown-ass man running around with a gun in his hand. And so they called the police. And not that 14-year-olds don't rob people with guns anyway and shoot people with guns, but anyway. All they get a call is a man with a gun. Officers roll up on the scene. They see Tamir Rice. They bail out of the car. He turns with the gun in his hand. He's shot and killed. Okay. I'm not getting to the details of it. I'm not debating the merits of the shooting and all that. I'm just giving you a recap. Well, one of our viewers commented on YouTube, and this quote is attributed to Imani Nile. Tamir Rice. Why isn't the community outraged over the bad parenting of allowing a young child to have a toy gun in a bad neighborhood? So somebody, I think it was Willie Sweetwonka Joe, replied to that, but I'm going to reply to that myself. I agree that in certain situations you have to, you should always behave accordingly, but certain things that go in certain areas don't go in other areas. And it shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it is. I will still refer back to the fact that he was 14 years old. And 14-year-old boys like toy guns. They like pellet guns. I was a 14-year-old boy once, and I've raised 4 of them. So I understand how that works, okay? And so, it could be argued that why does this child here not have the right, the ability, the privilege to have a toy pellet gun and enjoy his childhood just like another child in another neighborhood can do? Again, I know I get the point of allowing him to have a toy gun in a bad neighborhood, but I don't really know that anybody was looking at it like that, and it's unfortunate because one of the results of that was it ended up costing him his life. But I don't know. I'm not really willing to blame that on bad parenting. I understand there are some questionable parenting. There was some questionable parenting there. Not that made him a bad kid. It's just that he didn't maybe have the best support system at home. But that, I don't think anybody knew that when they rolled up on him. So,
yeah, that was a really tragic situation for both Tamir Rice, his family, and for the police
tragic,
officers.
Especially tragic for him. It was tragic all the way around, man. That was one of those awful things that there was no winner on that, and everybody lost.
Well, you bring up a good point. I mean, there are a lot of communities, rural or otherwise, where parents teach their kids, like I did, teach my kids about firearms, how to use them, take them to the range.
Exactly.
And it's unfortunate, but there are some dynamics there that don't make it prudent or wise for a young man of color.
Sure, in a certain area
setting, to have a toy gun, a pellet gun,
right,
or a real gun for that matter, and that is unfortunate because that is one of America's favorite pastimes. I mean, even African Americans in the South have depended on having guns for hunting and
protection and everything like everybody else does.
Yeah, so but that is an interesting point she brings up. I'm not so quick though to blame or even ascribe that dynamic to Tamir Rice because there's a lot of things we don't know.
Right, and there's so many twists and turns and details to that thing. We're not going to drill down it. We did it already. We've covered it twice. We've talked to the POA president more than once, and so. That is what it is, but I'm just going off that one quote, that one question rather, and I wanted to address that because that's what we asked you to leave us feedback, and then we will address your feedback on the following show. So that's what we did.
Yeah, and I think she was courageous for bringing it up. A lot of people.
Oh, sure, especially knowing you're going to get clapback from people who watch our show. Somebody's going to say something, and somebody did.
Exactly.
So, okay, so the next thing we typically do is we move into the news of the day. And some of our topics are topics that we've talked about before, and some of our topics are topics that we are just getting into. So there's one actually. These stories this week are all new, but we do have some recaps later.
Right.
Can we play the one with the Danville bank robbery suspect? I think that's actually pretty interesting, and it's a sad story. It's not tragic, but it's a sad story. But it's interesting. So there was a bank got robbed in Danville, California. And as they played the video back, they noticed that something wasn't quite right with the suspect, and they started paying attention to certain features and certain attributes that the suspect had, and they figured out that the suspect was trying to portray themselves in an entirely different manner in order to throw off investigators as their true identity. So we'll play that, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
From officer to robber, a former Southland police officer now suspected of holding up a bank. CBS 2's Erica Mandy is live in Placentia with details of this bizarre case. Erica.
Well, Pat, security photos show that robber had a painted-on beard as a disguise, a far cry from her time as a police officer. This is not a typical bank robber, and that is not a real beard. Police say Jennifer Ray McClary disguised herself as a man by drawing a beard on her face, then handing a teller a note and demanding money at a bank in Northern California. Danville police arrested her a few hours later, and now we've learned she's a former police officer. First for LAPD from 2006 to 2008, then as a probationary officer for Placentia Police until 2010.
I was surprised. Anytime a police officer is arrested for a crime like that, it is obviously a far departure from where that person started.
Sergeant Bryce Angel says she was fired in 2010 for, quote, failing to meet probationary standards, but he wouldn't have guessed this.
I think that the person probably was in a very desperate state of mind and was going for a quick payday.
We're told McClary grew up in North Orange County, but later moved to the Bay Area. This is her recent business information from LinkedIn. And just last year, it appears McClary posted this picture on Facebook of her flashing $100 bills in front of her face. Neighbors in her hometown had not heard about her alleged crime.
I find that hard to believe. We raise our kids well, and it doesn't seem like something that she would do.
Especially since she used to enforce the law, not break it. McClary is in jail in Northern California on $100,000 bail. Pat and Rick.
So, That's one of those things that I thought it was interesting, even though it happened a couple of weeks ago. I just thought it was interesting because, first of all, you go that far. Okay. Now, that's actually pretty good to pull up the gender bender thing, right? To throw the police off the trail. And women don't usually rob banks. That's usually robbery period is usually a man's crime, right? So playing to that stereotype, she put the beard on and then she went in and proceeded to strike a decidedly feminine pose at the counter.
Couldn't help herself.
Couldn't help herself. Wasn't even thinking about it. What got you caught, Jennifer, was bad acting. Because had you been fully in character, you wouldn't have struck the girlish pose with the hand on the hip and the elbow pointed forward.
Yeah, I'm sure that there was more to. I'm not familiar with the entirety.
No, that's it. That's all they are talking about.
Yeah, I'm curious as to how she was caught.
Well, see, that's a good question, right? And I'm thinking that maybe somebody told, or maybe she has some kind of physical evidence. She wasn't a cop that long, right? And apparently she had 2 false starts at 2 separate agencies. So, she didn't make probation in either department, which means that, they're just not cut out for this right. line of work. But, man, to go from there to that,
yeah,
that's a dramatic departure.
Yeah, that's just like they say, an act of desperation. I'm not quite sure what drove her to that, but we hire human beings.
Sure.
And we're not perfect. And
no, not at all. Hey, listen, stuff happens, man. And cops have done this while they're on duty.
Exactly.
Don't you know somebody? Like I know somebody who went to prison for bank robbery while an active cop?
Yes.
Sure.
And several officers that have been convicted of other crimes while on duty,
right.
Unfortunately.
On duty while actively employed, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So, I mean, it's not that she's a former cop or anything, because there's been active duty cops that have done that. So, people go sideways, man.
What would be interesting is to look at possibly her background and see if there was something there that is consistent with what has been seen with other police officers who go wrong. That would be an awesome study for someone either in a master's program or a doctoral.
Yeah, well, you know what? I've been in communication with someone who was a police officer who went wrong, very wrong, like horribly wrong, like famously wrong, and I'm actually trying to get him to come on the show. And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to pull that off in the next couple of weeks. Now, actually, Mike Dowd, the NYPD officer, who was the subject of the 7.5.
Right.
Yeah, we've been.
We saw that.
Yeah, the 7.5. If you haven't seen the 7.5, go to Netflix and check out the 7.5. Mikey Dowd and Kenny Urell and those cats, man, they were off the chain. It was incredible, the stuff that they thought they could get away with, and some of the stuff they did get away with, and it was just like. It's stunning police misconduct. Mike is out of the joint now. He did 12 years, and he is now a police ethics consultant. And some people kind of roll their eyes when you tell them that, but as he says, who better? He knows all sides of it.
Well, earlier, we were talking about hip-hop, and we know also a number of officers who were caught up in that.
Oh, yeah. Sure, the whole death row thing.
Yeah, if you get the chance to look at the book Labyrinth.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. I haven't seen that.
Excellent.
I mean, I haven't read it, but I've heard about it, yeah.
You'll read things in there.
Oh, and you'll go, that dude.
People and the names, and it's just another one of those dynamics in which police, on-duty police officers go down that road.
Right.
And find themselves looking the other way or even engaged in criminal activity.
Right. And there's something about that lifestyle that for young people, especially young men, it's very alluring, and I think that's
right. There are a lot of things. Women,
right? Women, money, power,
right?
Access, the whole thing, right? And that's one of the things that Mike Dowd talks about too. Is that he was young, he was on a job, and it was fun, and that's why he did a lot of that stuff. Because in his young mind, it was fun.
Right.
So okay, so we have this has been pending for a little while, and it actually just made some legislative ground lately. There is a bill in the California. It's moved to the Assembly now for approval, and it's called the Last Call Bill, also known as Nightlife Matters. And State Senator Wiener, or California Legislator Wiener from San Francisco, introduced this bill. And what the bill is supposed to do is it's going to allow each city, each municipality to dictate how long they can serve alcohol. So right now, everybody says last call is 2 a.m. Those of us who studied hard in the police academy and studied the Alcohol Beverage Control Act, know that it's not 2 a.m., it's 2 hours after midnight.
Right.
And they did that so you couldn't beat daylight savings time. So now they're going to extend it to be 4 hours after midnight if that city so chooses. So what happens is a city can, based on the nature and character of the city and how they make their money, what the tax base is, they can extend last call up to 4 hours. So they could say last call is at 3 a.m., last call is at 3:30, last call is at 3:59, or they can run it all the way. It's up to them.
Right.
And what they're doing is letting each city dictate that as opposed to just being a statewide thing. Because this state is so large, it's so populous, it's so diverse, and each city's got so much, so many different cities with so many different characteristics. You figure, what are there, like 52, 54 counties in the state?
58.
There's 58 counties in this state. So think of all the cities in there. So there's hundreds of cities in this state. This isn't this ain't Rhode Island,
Right.
So they want to give each municipality the ability to dictate this. So we have some video. We're going to run the video, and then we'll come back and talk about that a little bit more.
An adult pastime is getting a shake-up. The opportunity for another round may be extending at bars across California. A bill introduced this week wants to allow last call to stretch to 4 a.m.
I think it's a good idea. It's nice to have that option to keep going till 4 in the morning.
Potentially good for customers and the service industry.
It'll provide more revenue for local bartenders and servers who are going to be out late, and then they'll be able to pay more for their rent, which is going up in the local downtown area.
But an extra 2 hours of drinking leaves more room for less than responsible behavior, and later nights for law enforcement.
With the change, the 2-hour extension of the time alcohol can be served, our staffing would have to change to accommodate those hours.
Fox and Goose has been in Sacramento.
All right. So, some people are saying, hey, that's going to be 2 more hours that people are going to be out drinking. People are going to be involved in all that kind of stuff. The drunks are still going to be on the road when some people are getting up and going to work,
right,
et cetera, et cetera. But I think a lot of people say, hey, this is going to allow me to go do some other things and then go to the bar later because I have 2 more hours to drink. Or instead of the bar closing, I can kind of hang out and maybe get some coffee or whatever and kind of sober up and let it wear off before I take off. There's arguments on both sides, but that's why I like the fact that it comes down to what that municipality wants. We'll take the perfect examples right here next to each other. You have Beverly Hills and you have West Hollywood, and they share a border. They're both on the western end of Los Angeles. And Beverly Hills doesn't have the bars and restaurants that West Hollywood does. Now, there's a lot of bars because there's a lot of hotels in Beverly Hills, but those are hotel bars. They're different than the nightclubs. When we talk about West Hollywood, when you hear about the Roxy and the Whiskey and the Viper Room,
right,
that's all on the Sunset Strip in West Hollywood. So as you can imagine, West Hollywood makes a lot of money off those bars that are on that whole famous Sunset Strip. So West Hollywood is probably going to be perfectly fine with extending it out 2 more hours, where Beverly Hills right next door may not want to do that. I don't know what the city of Los Angeles is going to want to do. I haven't heard any talk about that.
So just having experience through development and doing security and things like that, most cities with their conditional use permits are restricting places to stay open late. Like there are a number of places that close at 11 or midnight, and you can't drink after that in those places. A lot of it also has to do with what the residents want.
That's the thing. That's why I say Beverly Hills versus West Hollywood, right?
And West Hollywood is a good example. Another place would be somewhere like Hermosa Beach.
Oh yeah, the Strand down there. Sure,
is robust.
That's where they make their money, right?
However, I don't think it'll have the impact that maybe this guy thinks. I think that it's good to give the municipalities that extra room should they
that flexibility. Sure, should they want to.
There's very few cities like you mentioned. If we talk about West Hollywood, Hermosa Beach, and a couple other
Huntington Beach is a big part of Bar City.
You'll see that might have an impact on them. But like the sergeant is saying, I could see that these DUI task force that normally go offline around 3 a.m.
Right, they need to stick around a little bit longer.
Yeah, and then so you're talking about people coming to work later. You're talking about it throwing off any kind of daytime or PM's deployment. I mean, there's a number of issues I could see with that.
Well, you just got to adjust to it, right?
Yeah, but the other thing is too is you could see that the impact it'll have on other cities surrounding it.
Right, all those drunks coming out of that. Yeah, sure.
Through their town or going home or whatever.
Sure.
So,
but you know what? Here's a good analogy. I'm not going to say it's perfect. But it's a good analogy. So in Los Angeles County, some cities decide to sell fireworks, and some cities do not sell fireworks. Some cities outlaw them.
Right.
And the cities that sell fireworks sometime will set those fireworks stands up right on the border with the city that doesn't. So Culver City can sell fireworks, and they border Los Angeles, and they'll set up right on La Cienega, right at the Culver City, Los Angeles border. So you could literally walk across the street out of the city of LA buying fireworks. Right. When I used to work in Watts, it was the same thing. In the county areas on Imperial Highway, you could sell fireworks on the south side of Imperial Highway. But if you brought those fireworks back across the street north into the city of LA, you know, then you were going to have an issue. But in the county Los Angeles area, unincorporated area, Athens and all that, you could do it, right? Compton, they sell fireworks in Compton too, but you couldn't have them in Watts.
And you usually see that in places where the city has more stringent building codes and more code enforcement.
Sure.
Because in LA, I mean, we have a mishmash of codes over the years, and I mean, can you imagine an errant spark?
Yeah, but it happens anyway.
Well, I mean, but you have less, but you end up with less.
Well, deeper into the city, but in those areas that border, man, you go to Watts, man, and people running fireworks. Okay.
Oh yeah.
There's like, because all you gotta do is walk across Imperial Highway and come right back. Right?
Or your uncle pulls up and pops the trunk open.
Boom.
You know,
right? Literally, boom.
You got everything.
It got so bad that we served a search warrant on a house that was selling fireworks like they were selling dope.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, and and we say, oh man, we see so many fireworks, and I'm thinking, you know, it's not dope, it's not guns, but still,
the danger is
it's still dangerous, right? It's still some danger there, right? So that's kind of so we'll see what happens with that. I think it's a good idea to give them the flexibility, and I'd like to see what happens with that.
Right.
All right, and I think we have time for one more story before we go to the break. So this is a recap, or it's a revisiting of a story we covered over a year ago, I guess. Oakland PD had a big scandal where there was an underage prostitute who was passed around a lot of Bay Area agencies, so Livermore and Richmond and all those Bay Area agencies. And by Bay, it's up by Oakland, San Francisco, and the San Francisco Bay. And her parents were dispatchers at Oakland PD, but somehow she got into this life and compromised some of the officers. Officers found themselves in bad positions, or I should say they compromised themselves, because technically she's a victim of sex trafficking. And she went by the name of Celeste Guap. And there was a whole big thing where people were getting indicted and arrested, and one dude committed suicide during the middle of the scandal. It was all this kind of stuff. Well, there was a lawsuit, and the lawsuit's been settled. So we're going to play that video, and then we'll come back and talk about that.
Oakland City Council approved a nearly $1 million settlement for the woman at the center of a Bay Area law enforcement sex scandal.
And we're hearing from her for the first time in several months. Alan Martin is here with the latest developments. Alan?
Well, Ken and Liz, Oakland Council members approved that payment early this morning, calling for a change to the culture of the police department. Now, as part of that settlement, the city and the Oakland Police Department do not have to admit any fault in this case. The former sex worker at the center of it now goes by the name of Jasmine. She was a minor during her first of about 40 sexual encounters with law enforcement officers from around the Bay Area, including Oakland, making her a sex trafficking victim.
If you go back to like a year ago, did you think you'd ever be in a position where somebody would actually help you out of the situation you were in?
No, I did not.
So why is that?
I didn't think anybody cared about prostitutes. I feel happy that I can close this chapter and move on with my life.
Jasmine's attorney says they have other criminal cases pending involving 5 other Bay Area agencies: Livermore, Richmond, and San Francisco police, along with the Alameda County and Contra Costa County Sheriff's offices. He says that Jasmine is prepared to testify, if necessary, in those other cases.
I hope that, and that's a sad story, you know, and we brought that up when we covered we did an episode on sex trafficking. That's a really sad story, and I know that she had been in rehab down in Florida, got arrested after getting in a fight in rehab. And when somebody's young, they have a substance abuse problem, and they have a history of making bad decisions. The last thing you want to do is cut them loose with a whole bunch of money like that. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping there's some people who are going to act as conservators or act as a trust or something to make sure, because if you let her you run the risk of her pissing through all that money in 2 years tops.
Yes,
2 years.
Especially having a substance abuse.
That's what I'm saying.
History and it's just a number of things there that make that not.
That's a bad combination. Right. So I really hope that she listens to somebody this time, and gets her thing squared away. And
not to be an attorney bashing, but you really hope that they're not the true victors.
Oh yeah, because they're getting paid.
Right.
Big time.
But you hope they've set something up for her to help her.
And she'll have something, and it'll be like a little stipend or something.
Well, counseling.
So that she's not, right, counseling, go back to rehab and finish it this time. And start over fresh, man. Yeah. I mean, we don't know her real name because she kind of has gone by these pseudonyms, which is great because she was a minor and a victim of sex abuse.
Right.
So go on about your life and set your stuff up and, just that's a really, start over fresh.
I mean, that's a really tough thing to get out of when you consider she's got two monkeys on her back, if you will. The drugs, the sex trafficking.
Right.
And then the issues that brought her to that.
Well, you could take a kid who was a good kid and was in school and doing all the things you're supposed to do, and you give them that kind of money, and man, you're looking for trouble. So if you take somebody who's already got issues and give them that kind of money, stand by.
Right.
Stand by. So, hey, if you guys want to give us a sec, we're going to take a break, and we're going to listen to some music, or you're going to listen to some music, and we're going to come right back, and then we will be introducing our special guest for this evening. And yes, sir, you. Yes, sir. So we'll see you in a minute here on the Ride Along Radio Show.
That's the sound of the...
That was Sound of the Police by KRS-One.
Yeah.
That was old school, man. That was like back in the day.
Yes, sir.
With that one. Back when people used to go to The Good Life right up the street here on Crenshaw and Exposition. That was back in the day, man.
I was back before anything like mumble rap. The only people who was mumbling was your grandparents about how it sounded.
About how it sounded, right. Exactly. All right, so we're back. And as you may notice, we have an addition to our panel. To my left is a comedian and comic writer and outspoken gentleman of many well-selected words, the one and only Geoff Brown.
Thank you, brother. I like that. I like that.
Okay, I'll do your next voicemail greeting.
Vanguard of the brand is what I like to call it.
There you go. Vanguard of the Brown. Nice, man.
Yeah.
So how you been, man?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. There is so much that is unfolding for me right now on a social stand. I cannot wait. I will come back here. There's something that I want to share with you.
Okay.
That is huge.
Oh,
nice. It's not just my career. It's in my personal life.
Nice.
That is going to positively affect so many people. It's huge.
Oh, beautiful, man. I look forward to that news.
I'll be back here. I'll let you know.
All right. Good, man. Good. Outstanding. I always like good news.
Yeah.
Especially after a week when I've gotten some bad news. That's good news, man. I look forward to it. So, yeah, we lost a former coworker, man.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, the dude, man, it's weird circumstances, man. Dude was, I don't want to get into it, but anyway, yeah. Hey, rest in peace, Dick. We weren't always on the best terms, but you didn't deserve to go out like that.
Yeah.
So.
Love to his family, man. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. So, So, hey, man. So you've been on the show before, and I'm glad to have you back.
Yes.
And I was trying to get you back here last week, and then we couldn't do the show, so I was glad you were able to make it fit into your schedule this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, Geoff Brown in the house.
Yeah. Jason Whitlock.
We'll get to that. Get to that.
All right. Let's get to that.
So, you write for D.L. Hewley.
I do.
And amongst other things.
Yes.
So to introduce yourself to the audience, those who don't know.
Yeah, for those of you who do not know, actor, writer, comedian, music producer. I got a lot of kids, so I have to do a lot of shit.
I know. We know what you mean, both of us.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm an active father. So that compels you.
Sure.
Yeah.
How many do you have?
That's not an easily answered question. I have 5 by 2 ex-wives. I have 3 that are grown, and then I have 2 little ones. Now, the reason it's kind of hard to answer is because of the dynamic between the two. The grown ones, that money is loans. I'm gonna need that back because I can't give you money to buy the same shit I'm buying. Okay, I'm buying rubbers and weed on the weekend too. so I can't give you money for that. I gave him a backpack, books, glue.
Right, pencils.
I got that, pencils.
Sure.
I got that.
Number 2.
I got that. Yeah, purple kush? I'm going to need that back, pimp. You should have bought that and can't smoke it with your daddy. That's what it should have.
Oh, wow. There you go.
So it's a little different.
See? So, yeah, no, we understand, man. We have both of us have a wide age range of children.
Yes. Absolutely.
And
As you
we
should.
understand the dynamics.
As you should.
Understand the dynamics, man.
Yeah, you need some practice kids. You need some practice kids.
I'm gonna have to talk.
Well, I got my grandkids now.
Oh, you got grandbabies, so you had something you practiced on.
So I got grandkids now.
How you figure? Like mumps. You know how that old remedy to put sardine oil in a rag and put it around your head. Ain't nobody else heard of that? To get rid of
that was from Little Rascals. I remember that Little Rascals.
My grandmama did that. Okay, now think about the first person who did that. How much other shit did they go through before they got the sardine?
Before they figured that one out, right?
And who did they do that on?
Right.
The practice kids. The practice kids. You got to have some practice kids. So
no, you're right. Absolutely. And all the stuff that didn't work.
All the shit that didn't work.
Right. Well, I think the same thing when I see people eating odd things. Okay. Right? Like who figured out that was edible?
Yeah, who put them two together?
Right.
Well, then that's something else that you have to credit weed for. Let me tell you something. You have until you have a peanut butter mayonnaise and Dorito sandwich. You have not lived. You have not lived. Oh yeah.
Well, hold on.
Crunch all that.
Hold on. What flavor Doritos? Because that might make a difference.
It depends. If you're watching your weight, you definitely want to go with the OG. You don't want to go with the Cool Ranch.
Taco.
I can't stand ranch anyway. So the taco flavor might be okay.
Taco flavor Dorito with peanut butter. Okay.
What kind of bread?
There you go too.
Well, it's up to you. Me, I'm kind of health conscious, so I go 7 grain. I like a 7 grain.
So you got to add more components to it.
I thought he was going to tell me, well, I'm kind of healthy, so I'm going to get the molded bread.
The molded bread. No, I'm a spelt. I'll go spelt on your monkey ass in a minute. Spelt flour. Oh yeah, I didn't turn the whole corner dietarily. It's a whole bunch of stuff I can't.
I need to introduce him to my youngest son.
Oh, that's his thing.
This guy is different.
Oh, my man.
Yeah,
my man. Who wants to be like everybody else? He's different. That's the dude. That's the gear.
I'm gonna have to look at it.
Yeah,
that's one of the dreads.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, what other way are you looking at it right now?
I'm just trying to figure out where he picked some of those things up, but I also know that some of the things he's doing has slowed him in other areas.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, if we're willing to explore, I would love to explore some of that, because when you say where did he pick certain stuff up,
right?
Well, as human beings, you do understand we are electrical objects and that we have antennas. So necessarily what he picked up did not come from you, his mother.
Just the environment.
It could be the environment.
Oh, yeah.
It could be,
I'm sure the environment had a lot to do with
the environment and what you see in the media.
Ancestrally.
Whatever you consume, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and genetic, right? Nature versus nature, the whole thing.
I just like for him to get his formalized education while he's doing that.
How old is he?
22. He'll be 22 this month, or in July.
Well, when you say formalized education, what?
College education.
But aimed at what? Because I can take you down Skid Row.
Well, whatever he wants to do.
Okay, yeah. Now that he needs 22,
yeah.
You need to have a grip on that.
Exactly.
Right. And that's the thing. I think that I've known this dude for a long time. And I know that I was very focused even as a teenager. I knew what I wanted to do. And I think you knew what you wanted to do. So when you have children that by comparison seem aimless, you wonder what's going on with them, and really they're just normal kids. It's just we weren't normal kids.
We were not. Yes, we were not normal.
Right?
Well,
that's
also,
what it is.
Like you said, my practice kids, 32, 28.
Yeah, I'm right in there. Yeah.
Have allowed me to raise my younger 23, 21, and
with
19,
some practice under your
much
belt.
Better. So I'm just wondering what changed there.
You like where did I zinc when I should have zonked?
I don't think it's much as my fault or his mother's fault. I just think it's like you said, the things that he saw that made him try something different.
And some people say, I like that. I'm going to try that. Or I want to go in this direction for a minute.
And he's become vegan.
Or really?
I should say vegetarian. He's
that's
not a vegan, though. He wears leather still.
That's incredible.
He wears leather belt and all that.
Well, see, here's a problem with black. And I
challenge or problem?
No, this is a problem. Okay. As I don't call myself a vegan. I prefer the term conscious herbivore. Because vegan brings its own politics.
Right.
It
you
does.
Start with the meat is murder and throwing.
Oh, yeah. I have a friend that's a vegan. And my God, shout out to you, Cammie. But Cammie's death on that shit, boy. Cammie is hardcore.
See, and I don't really give a flaming rat's ass about the animals, other than like I got 2 dogs. I don't abuse him. I don't really like cats very much. But the concept of I'm doing this for the animals, no, I'm not there. And if you got to throw ink on mink coats, I hate to draw these lines as a comic because it's very easy. That's white people shit, okay? Because who are the people you are around as the average Caucasian that you're going to throw a mink on? The affluent, the well-to-do.
Right, and they're not going to jump on you.
I'm black. The cats that wear minks that I know is gangsters and killers. You roll up on them on his blue fox and throw some ink talking about me is murder. No, that ain't murder.
This is murder.
That's murder. So I'm not down with that. I'm just conscious.
Like you said, it's on politics. No, I mean, my friend who's a vegan, Cammie goes out and protests against zoos and circuses and all that kind of stuff.
Good for her.
She's hardcore.
And she should.
I mean, you know what? She's real with it. You know, it ain't like sometime it's fad. Nothing. Right. She's been vegan for a number of years.
She like Wednesday, we going down to the zoo.
That's her thing. And I'm to the point now, just some literature she's shown me and stuff. I can't stand the idea of a circus anymore, and I laugh every time somebody gets attacked by a lion at a circus.
Oh, you just picked my brain. Is it just me, or do I root for the animal in every situation,
sure.
man versus?
Oh, sure.
Because there's always some ignorant, like the have you seen the one where the deer gets up on his hind legs and beats the piss out of the dude.
Oh, I love it.
For putting that deer piss, because you know what he did. You know what he did. You basically catfished him on a booty call.
Right, exactly, right.
He thinking some ass over here. He get over here as you. Motherfucker, I was already on some ass, and now you wasting my time.
Yeah, I love it, man. And I didn't think deers could fight like that.
Oh, yeah.
You just think about those antlers, right?
He stood up through the things.
He went from the shoulders.
Yeah.
I mean, if they got shoulders, I don't know if deers got shoulders, but
he came from the shanks.
You know, when I saw that, I was like, this beats the hell out of a Sydney kangaroo fight.
Kangaroos can get down too, though.
Yeah, kangaroos is nasty.
This deer was getting down, though.
Oh, man.
And you, like you say, he had already left from a date.
Right.
And
he was on some other shit.
Well, because it was likely exotic or...
So he's like, what is this?
Yeah, he probably...
He left his home.
That's like you.
He stopped at the sunshine.
Right.
Tell your mother I'm never coming home.
Right. He over. You imagine, okay, you over. You ain't seen. Here's a scenario. What's your name again, brother?
JB.
JB. Who was the finest girl in high school?
I can't say that on air.
Okay. You're a married man.
I'm not married, but I just...
You can't say that on air. Right. Okay, let's just say her name was Stephanie. And you ran into Stephanie.
What high school did you go to?
No. I'm in Chicago. In Chicago. Oh, the finest girl at my high school was Wanda Duffin. Jesus Christ. But anyway, you run into Stephanie tomorrow.
Right.
Stephanie fine as hell still. Hey, JV. Oh, my God. So good to see you. We having this get-together at my house. You want to come over tomorrow night? Hell.
That's not even a question.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. I think I can. You get your shit done, get your ride waxed up nice. You at Stephanie's house, and it's me, JB, nigga. I'm at this thing.
Oh my God.
I'm at this thing, right? And it's me. I'm chilling with Halle Berry, and one of her friends is here. Hills, nigga. I don't care what you're doing.
Get over
Unless you pulling your mama from a burning car. You need to get in your goddamn... JB, I'm not playing.
What are you going to do?
You take a rain check with the finest girl from high school to come where I tell you to come. Oh, yes, JB, let him through the gate. Me and Halle Berry sitting by the pool. And you know who's on the other side? The Pine Saw lady. Dude, you got, Jeff, I need to see you outside, pimp. I'm whoop your ass. I'd have just left the finest girl in high school for the Pine Saw lady because you didn't entice me over here on your bullshit.
And that's what that
deer was like.
That's exactly what it was.
You finna get these things.
And the deer threw some joints.
I saw the video.
No, I watched that video so many times. That and anything having to do with a bullfight or the running of the bulls in Spain.
Yay, bull.
Oh, my God. I love it. Team bull.
Fuck them up, bull. Get them, bull. Yay, bull.
Oh, yeah, I love it, man.
Yes, Lord. Have you seen the one where these arrogant-ass white hunters are over the dead lion?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yeah. And their homies, the lion's homies come up.
Out of nowhere,
Out of nowhere, you see. What is that cloud of dust? Oh, shit.
And he's on him.
On him. Tear their ass up. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, well, you know what, man? And that to me is just that. That's a human thing to think we just have domain over everything.
How about it?
And we can treat everything the way we want to. And then when that happens, when nature wins, man, I love it. I really do.
Oh, my God.
But also, let me say, that's the reason that I do not subscribe to the whole vegan thing, because I know that I'm in the food chain.
Okay.
And those animals are in the food chain.
Okay.
Okay. So if a lion catches me slipping, a bear catches me slipping, hell, a big enough bobcat catches me slipping, I'm entering the food chain.
Yes.
Shark catch you in the water, you're in the food chain.
You're in the food chain.
So, and I eat all that. I've eaten shark and alligator.
Me too.
And all that, right? Because it's all part of we all in the food chain.
Yeah,
we are all in the
food.
We have all. Yes, sir. I have.
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
No. Yes.
I can't stand possums. Possums are like big nasty rats to me. So
Do you eat
I'll
pork?
never. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know.
All right.
But personality goes a long way.
Amen. That's be one charming motherfucking pig.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What was that? We are on the food chain, but there are certain animals and some that you mentioned who do not eat meat on that food chain.
Right. Gorillas don't eat meat.
Silverbacks, all the big ones, all the strong ones.
Yeah.
All the big strong ones.
And that's something that's amazing.
Yes.
And they have sharp teeth too.
They
And
have
you would think that's for meat. It's for, I guess it's for self-defense, right?
They're for self-defense and for tearing
the husk and stuff off. Okay, like a mango.
But they have flat teeth mostly and long intestines. Every mammal with flat teeth and long intestines is a vegetarian, except man.
Okay.
Right.
Everyone. So there is.
Well, they don't know how to cook either. See, that's the thing.
That's the other thing. My daddy say I tell you what else we got in common. They don't. Costco cards.
Right, Costco cards. And we get on an airplane.
Charcoal.
You know,
yeah.
We wear headphones and shit and all that.
All kind of shit.
I'm sure JR is sitting somewhere having a salad and some nuts and a bit,
absolutely,
and a biscuit.
Absolutely. Now, as long as he keeps his iron up.
And the protein.
And and protein isn't as high on the list as we have been led to believe.
Really?
Yes. And the fact that animal protein is not the best protein.
Right,
it's not the one that you're supposed to be actually synthesizing.
Right.
You can get protein from nuts, legumes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's lots of other places that have the proteins that your body needs. There's no argument for meat that stands up.
Right.
There isn't.
Well, that's what my friend says. That's what Cammie says all the time. She's like posting on Facebook constantly, and she's always posting these recipes for different stuff. You know?
Oh shit, Cammie, if you watching, Geoff Geoff Brown, look me up, help me out with some recipes.
We're connected on. You guys are connected through me, so I'll connect you both on Facebook.
Because I'm tired of eating this. I got about 4 meals.
Oh no, she got all kind of stuff, man.
Does she look like Stephanie?
See, Stephanie's fictional though, right? Or that in his scenario.
Yeah, Stephanie.
She sounded.
That's
good.
your question. That's the question only you can answer.
Well, no, I'm just saying she sounded so good.
Well, you know, I mean,
who's
Stephanie's
the finest
real,
girl in your
high
school? You didn't want to answer that, so I made her Stephanie. So the answer to that is the
your
variable,
Stephanie.
right?
Who's your Stephanie?
My Stephanie's a given. Yours is a variable. Only you can fill in that variable. We don't know. Wow. So is she as fine as Stephanie?
I don't know. I don't know her.
Oh, no, you know your Stephanie. Like I know who my Stephanie is. Right.
Well, you know what? You remember the redhead from the.
I wish we could tell that story on the air. I'll tell it to you off the air.
Tell me on the break.
Hilarious.
You're welcome.
It involves Scott Baio, and I just leave it at that.
Well, anytime. Okay. Y'all can say what you want to about Scott. Chachi. Oh, my God. He was putting it down back in the day.
Oh, yeah. When I met him that night, I realized who Scott Baio really is.
Yeah.
It ain't Chachi.
No, Scott Baio ain't Chachi, baby.
No, not at all. That's what I'm saying. That night, yeah.
Scott
okay, we'll talk about it on the break.
A younger Hugh Hefner. Right. Let's just put it like that.
Right, exactly.
Bam.
So anyway, okay, so look, we've burned through a whole lot of stuff here.
Oh yeah.
But let's do this.
What we talking about? What you want to talk about?
Let's go to the police body camera footage thing, and because I think that's going to give us a good solid block to ride into the break on. And basically, what's happening is, we did a show on police body cams a couple of years ago, and people saying, "Oh yeah, police body cams, good idea. We got to do it," and it is a good idea, and we did have to do it. But like with everything, after it's been out a while, you figure, well, we got to tweak that.
Yeah, you got to fix it.
We got to, oh man, this unintended consequence occurred, so now we got to close that loophole. And that's kind of what's happening. So we're going to play the video and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay.
Well, we would play the video, but here we go.
There you go. I was about to say.
The U.S., there has been a wave of state laws concerning police body cam footage, with several states passing laws in the last 2 years restricting public access to that footage. North Carolina, for example, passed a law this summer that blocks the release of law enforcement recordings from body cameras or dashboard cameras with limited exceptions. The law took effect less than a week after Charlotte police released footage showing the shooting of Keith Lamont Scott. Scott's death and the video that followed sparked protests around the city. South Carolina, where Walter Scott was shot and killed, passed a similar law in June. It was celebrated by some because it requires all officers to wear body cameras, but it also restricts that footage from the public. Texas specifically bars any footage from being released if it captures a deadly use of force incident or is related to an investigation of an officer. In other states like California, lawmakers have tried to reform police body camera laws, just to ultimately watch several bills die before making it to the governor's desk. Currently in Los Angeles, San Diego, and Oakland, departments restrict all public access to the footage outside of a courtroom or police review panels. With such a rapid expansion of body camera use across the country, state lawmakers in many cases are having trouble keeping up. These states haven't introduced any legislation in regard to access to police body camera footage, despite officers in several of these states using the technology. The National Fraternal Order of Police, the nation's largest police union, has called body cameras a useful tool, saying in most cases the footage exonerates officers from bogus charges. But the FOP has also been skeptical about allowing the public to have access to body camera footage, claiming it can taint an investigation and public opinion. Meanwhile, many activists and journalists alike have pushed for that transparency, pointing to cases like Walter Scott and Laquan McDonald, where released video footage of the incident was a large contributing factor in charges being filed against the officers involved.
Oh, you know, I got plenty of ignorant shit to say about that.
All right. Well, then, again, the law of unintended consequences. Mm-hmm. So we thought, hey, police officers should always keep these cameras on them, mm-hmm. and they should always keep them running, and they should be publicly accessible because these are public servants, mm-hmm. and they're out here for public safety, okay? Mm-hmm. But then, after you realize that in the course of a police officer's day, he's going to see people at their worst. He's going to see people when they've been victims of mm-hmm. crimes. He's going to see people who are confessing to things, people who are telling other people who've done things, all this stuff that doesn't need to be necessarily in the public domain. Mm-hmm. I've responded to a rape call where the victim ran out of an alley completely naked, screaming. Mm-hmm. This is way before anybody had iPhones, let alone body cameras, okay? We didn't even have cell phones, period, back then, really. We had the big bricks.
Oh yeah. You look like a radio man in Vietnam with
right,
the big battery
exactly.
on your back.
With the prick
We're
pack,
taking
right?
heavy fire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there was no video of that, but I'll never forget it. I can take you to the house where it happened.
Wow.
Because I never forgot it. And the woman was, man, she was traumatized. It was absolutely the worst moment of her life. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen anyone shriek in horror like that. But she had been attacked by a couple of assailants. They dragged her off the street. And somebody saw it and called it in, but it had already begun.
Happened. Right.
And so when we get there, man, she comes out, and she looked like a wounded animal. I had never seen anybody
so
walking
terrified.
Like that and terrified, and her clothes were ripped. She had like a dress right in front of her, but she's completely naked, basically. So you want six body cameras on that, and anybody can get that footage, and that that's going to be out there and whatever. So they have to, and that's happened since, I'm sure, to other officers, right? Since body cameras. So you have to come up with some kind of rules or laws that say this is not subject to Public Records Act. This is only going to be introduced in case, like she could get the footage, mm-hmm. or the attacker, whoever was accused of that, in court could get the footage, or the prosecution could get the footage and use it maybe with her permission or whatever. But it wouldn't just be there for me to go into the police station and say, hey, I heard a lady got raped around the corner from my house. You guys got any footage on that?
Right.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we have the federal evidence rule, which trickles down to states. And like when we work narcotics or gangs, we have the 1041 of the evidence code where you get to invoke that. And those things like that, certainly a defense attorney is going to say falls under what's called the best evidence rule.
Right.
But you can protect, you could protect unfortunate scenes like that, or situations where you don't release certain things because it's still part of evidence. It's still
right.
An unadjudicated case.
While it's unadjudicated.
Right.
But now once it's dispo, the person's been found guilty and they go off to their time or they walk.
Well,
what
I'll tell you is happening is we're seeing judges seal certain aspects of that where there's evidence. And especially because in California we have, well, actually it's a federal, but in California we have the confidentiality part. So there are certain aspects that you can keep confidential that, let's say, are sex crime or domestic violence or certain things. The other thing you mentioned, and this is a buzzword very much like our actions or poor tactics precipitate the need to use force.
Right.
Those unintended consequences are actually great for research, so that the things that because I was part of a project for the body camera. Let's say the body camera
like pilot
consideration.
Program.
No, we didn't even get to that.
Excuse me, forgive my ignorance. Are you still an active officer?
Yes,
in
Southern California.
That's why he's parsing his words so carefully.
Yeah.
So with that, the project, there were things that we asserted would not be good, and if it got out the way we put it out there, people would say, "Oh, the police! You guys are just saying that because you're the police." Well, we shelved that because there was another dynamic involving, let's say, hypothetically protected classes of citizens. Let's say persons under the age of 18.
Right, yeah, you're dealing with juveniles, right,
environments, and you're dealing with juveniles and kids. You have this abundance of footage of them that they can't really say it's okay for you to take.
They can't give you the permission.
They can't give you that permission.
Right.
And so when all of these things that we started seeing happening across the country with body cam footage was like, this was number 8 on our list, and this was number 4, and this was number 2. And so the unintended consequences, thank God, they're coming out, including prosecuting police officers for doing something they shouldn't have done.
Right, sure.
So
well, I think that was the intention. Honestly, I think that the idea was to when the citizens group pushed it, it was because we need to know what really happened, not what you wrote in the report,
right?
Not what you say happened. What really happened? Let's see the video.
Well, okay, I'm about to open up a big old can of worms here.
Go ahead.
Y'all actually, and it wouldn't happen overnight, but in 5 years, I would say you could do away with the outcry for police body cams. Throw some bleach on that blue line.
Yeah.
You throw a little bleach on the blue line.
But sometime it's I'm the only one there when it happens. So it's not as he's going to tell on me and we're going to get rid of the blue line. It's my word against that guy's word.
Okay. I'm going to do it again. Oh, yes, and I always wanted to ask you about this. I'm going to do this for you.
Okay.
Do me a favor. You've already done it. You don't have to. Close your eyes. I'm going to say 2 words. Bad cop. Does anybody pop in your head?
Yes.
Okay. If you haven't done everything you can, you and those who circle around and would agree with you, from this point forward, all of you are complicit in every horrible thing he does.
Well, I'll say this because I've actually had that same scenario presented to me. There are, well, I said this earlier, we hire human beings.
Right.
Okay. And we all come from different walks of life.
Okay.
The other day I dealt with a group of unruly young men, and because I spoke articulate, because I was articulate, because I told them something maybe they heard a white police officer say before, and I told them to leave or they would be arrested. I was a weird nigga. You a weird old nigga. You ain't like the rest of the niggas. I live I live
in the area
from here.
Right.
Yeah.
I raised 5 African American sons.
Okay.
I think very well.
Okay.
My kids don't act like these guys did.
Because there's a sheriff in town. Yes, exactly.
And so I'm going to say this. When I consider the fact that people come from different walks of life, and even we talked about this, police departments do not always recruit heavily from the areas in which they are.
Right, which they serve.
In which they serve, they get different types of people. So when my bad is criminal bad, no. But not being as understanding and open of the people they serve,
right,
and not exhibiting not even implicit, but overt bias, because people live a particular way. They do a, someone laughs.
So bad is relative. So I think we talked about this before about bad
Is
cop.
that cop still bad now?
Oh no, the guy I'm
With
thinking
the laws
about
in place,
when
is that cop still bad?
when you asked me about that, and I closed my eyes, the person I thought about, he's still bad. Because we're not talking about somebody who would be bad if they. Well, he's only bad because it's a cop doing it. No, this is shit you ain't nobody supposed to do.
Well, we weren't talking about smoking weed, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I forgot about that. That guy. No, he did more shit than that. That was just.
Well, that's not what you told me.
I
told
know
me he was bad for smoking weed.
Well, that's the first thing that I thought about. Okay. But as I thought about it later, I said, well, he actually did some other shit too.
Okay.
But that was the thing that back in that time, smoking weed was going to get you. Oh, please, you done.
Okay.
You couldn't even get hired if you said I smoked weed in the last 10 years as a police officer.
Right, exactly.
Before getting hired. You could work at Pep Boys and smoke weed.
Exactly.
And you ain't getting a police job for a long time,
now,
if ever.
Here's my problem with that. For a very long time, I couldn't read. For a very long time, okay?
I couldn't walk either.
Yeah.
You couldn't fix your own food, couldn't drive a car.
What you're basically, here's what I think needs to separate. People tend to anchor lawful and unlawful with right and wrong, and they are four different things.
Not always the same.
Oh no, I would agree. I actually,
not always the same.
I actually sat at an intersection yesterday.
Are you on duty?
Yes, and watched a dude walking across the street smoking a joint like he totally believed it was lawful to do in public.
Right.
And I just sat there and said, well, you know what?
Isn't it recreational? It's not. You can't do that.
You are allowed to possess, have, and even cultivate a certain amount of marijuana.
Okay.
But you are not allowed to walk outside and just smoke it indiscriminately.
You can walk across that same intersection drinking a bottle of beer either.
Right. So, but here's exactly what you just said came to mind. I was like, well, shit, the voters said it was okay. And but I'm saying, I grew up around it in high school.
Right.
I know some very successful people that I believe still smoke weed because they did in high school and in college. My point is that was a reality that is very apropos to what you just said. There are four totally different things. And when you sit back and you look at hell in politics, if you look at white collar versus straight up stick a gun up in somebody and take their shit versus doing it by means of the computer
I like to say,
or on paper.
Yes, I like to say black folks steal your money when you take it out the bank. White folks steal it when you put it in.
And so all of those things.
There's white bank robbery.
I mean, I actually got to that level of thinking like damn. I mean, white collar crime versus stick them up, give me your shit.
Right.
I guess when you ask about that bad police officer, a lot of things, and this gets Gil all the time. For me, there's an expectation.
I was hoping you wouldn't use that name.
Well, no, but I'm going to say this. This is why.
That's why he's sitting in their chair, not you. I was going to put you in that chair.
We are supposed to treat people with dignity and respect. We are supposed to explain to them why they are going to jail. We're not supposed to tighten the handcuffs on them. We're not supposed to treat them like they are the scum of the earth because they violated a code in a book. And some guys don't see that. Some cops don't see that. It doesn't mean they're bad people. They just have not had a life experience which caused them to look at things different. When I came on the job, I was a young policeman who was looking at statistics. How many people am I going to arrest? How many guns am I going to take? How much dope am I going to get tonight? And after a while, especially when you're raising kids that look like people you serve, you recognize you cannot arrest your way out of problems or society's problems. And you have to look at things differently. And I think that most cops have that transformation some point in their career.
I did, and I get vilified for it because people who knew me as a young 23-year-old police officer,
young fire pisser,
man, goddamn jet pilot, man, with a blue flame coming out my ass, man. Everybody was going to jail. Right. Our thing was fuck these motherfuckers, cut no slack, hook them, book them, and don't look back. That was the motto. Okay, we went forth and we booked them in great numbers. All right, and I wasn't thinking about any of the other bullshit. As you mature, and you just come into your own as a man and as a human being, as a person, and you start realizing there's other ways to do this. I have more tools at my disposal than my handcuffs and my pistol. okay, as a police officer. And I can make an impact that maybe is different. So you start thinking and you start seeing things a little bit differently, and you approach it differently.
And so why don't we approach the hiring process a little differently and start at that watermark?
Let me say this.
That's our next topic. We're going to get into it. But I just said that.
And just at the end of that, the cool part about that approach is you actually see that you're making a difference. You actually feel,
as you should.
Right, but I have to tell you though, when you're constantly up against a group of folks, especially if you're African American and they're African American, it is not. It is just a very challenging thing.
Okay, well here's and this is my issue. The people who make it the challenging thing are not, or are not entirely to blame. The people that you're hooking up, it's the people behind you. I always say this: bad cops are the symptom, good cops are the problem.
Because they don't say anything.
Because they don't say. Okay, let's just say society goes to hell. I mean, zombie apocalypse, crash of the dollar, whatever the fuck is the next thing coming.
Right.
People are probably going to start clans, like the people you know and the people you respect. You're going to start grouping your tribes.
Sure. Right.
Now, because I live over in Pasadena, I'm probably going to deal with some niggas over there. But nigga means God to me, which is what it has meant for before this 400-year thing. That's another subject. But the cats I'm dealing with over there, that's my tribe. Wherever Holt lives, he probably going to start a tribe. Wherever you live, you're going to start a tribe. And at some point, we're probably going to cross paths and go, Holt, what's going on, man? I'm so glad the zombie didn't eat you.
Right.
Or I'm so glad
you survived the crash of the dollar.
You survived whatever.
Right.
Now, if someone from my clan, smoking gun guilty, rapes someone from Holt's clan, this is my dude, the leaders are going to sit down.
Right.
And we know what the outcome is. We know there's no ambiguity.
Right.
This dude raped that woman.
Right. It was caught on a body cam.
Oh, yeah. If my clan does not turn, even if it's my son,
right.
If my clan does not turn that boy over to them to have them do whatever to him, our two clans go to war.
Right.
This is what's happening with the police as a whole, who, by the way, when you say people come from all walks of life, there's an FBI investigation that says that the United States law enforcement as a whole is overrun by people who come from the Aryan Brotherhood walk of life.
Yeah, well,
when you say
that's a dirty secret. But
yes. No, it ain't a dirty secret.
Well, it was.
It's on. You can Google that.
Yeah, it was.
I wasn't up all
well,
last night
and I say that,
and
I don't know that those people exist here because they wouldn't want to be police officers in this environment. But in certain parts of the country where that kind of thing is acceptable and is considered to be something good, sure.
Well, wait a minute. Whoa, you don't think that's?
Sure.
You don't think that's?
It's not as prevalent. Not as prevalent. And the reason I tell you it's not as prevalent because not only if I was a white supremacist, and I think, well, I'm going to go to join the Los Angeles Police Department so I can go work in Watts and I can go exploit and mistreat and abuse black people, right? Mm-hmm. The problem is if I join the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD is 46% black or something like that, or something like that. Not got that high? Is it 46% Latino now? Something like that.
Yeah.
But I may have to listen to a black sergeant if I go to LAPD.
Okay.
I may have a black captain, a black partner, a black training officer.
Exactly.
I don't want to deal with them. So I'm going to go work at someplace else, other part of the country, where there's not that many police officers who don't look and think like me.
If you are a level 1 white supremacist, that makes perfect sense. But when you got people who are going, okay, the black people that you work with on this side of the line, the ones who are opposition are necessary evils. The ones who think like Gil are golden. Okay, do you know that the worst thing you want to have, here are the two worst scenarios as a person on the other side of the line. When you get pulled over, if a black cop walks up to your window if any minority walks up to your window with a white cop, holy shit.
I've heard people say that.
Sweet mother of pearl.
I've heard people say that.
Because this dude has got to, feels like, and again, this could be my little odd observation, but this dude feels like he got a point to prove to his white counterpart.
Yeah, that you know, I'll say this. With 27 years on the job, I've never felt that I had to prove myself to anybody.
Not because of that.
Well, no, I'm especially not, certainly not because of that. And I'll say this, I don't, that theory or at least that perspective.
Yes.
Is not it's not alive in the organization I'm in, the ones I've worked in.
Not anymore, but I think
now,
we can. I think that we know that it was there at one point.
Yes,
and
yes.
why it was there.
Yes, no, and
it
back up.
has existed.
Back up.
No, I
are you saying that it's not there now?
I'm saying that it's not there now not to an extent that I noticed.
Right,
and maybe that's because I worked in 2 police departments that had a whole lot of black people working in them.
Right.
And every level.
Right.
Every level of the agency. Okay? So I never felt that kind of pressure. I never felt that kind of issues. And maybe had I gone to Fountain Valley like I was going to, then maybe I would have gotten down there and felt that.
Well, here, let me put it another way.
Not that I don't know how many black people I would have pulled over in Fountain Valley.
I don't know that the most dangerous part of white supremacy is in your uniforms, in your weapons, or even your heads. The most dangerous part of white supremacy with regard to police department is in your paperwork. It's in the infrastructure. Well, it is impossible.
When you say paperwork, what do you mean by paperwork?
I mean as in the concept that I am going to arrest an individual for possession of crack cocaine, and when I do, he's going to walk the same road as an individual who is arrested with powder cocaine.
Yeah, but see, that's
above us.
Yeah, and I have to say this to you. That's more on the federal level.
Right. Yeah.
That's not a state thing. That's a federal thing. The disproportionate sentencing, not disproportionate, but the what was this?
Yeah, that's good enough. That's close enough.
Where
disparate.
Where we saw that occurring, and that being what that was not on the local level.
Okay.
Those were cases that were federal cases. Hence, this is why you saw a number of people being their sentences commuted or being pardoned by Obama, and by seeing Attorney General Holder making those moves. Those were right moves. There were people who were not responsible. There were people who were not completely responsible for their lot in life, who found themselves receiving far more time than a person
for making the same mistake as somebody else.
Well, not making the same mistake, making poor judgment.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's not a mistake to sell dope. It's not.
Well, that's a mistake to make that decision. It's poor judgment.
I like that. An exercise in poor judgment.
There you go. I agree with that.
Because just because you come from somewhere does not mean you have to be that way.
No.
And that's one of the that is one of the reasons why I started to look at things different.
Mm-hmm.
Because I accepted that when I came across that kid who might be wearing a red shirt because he's in Inglewood, and I stop him and I hit him up, and he's not
Queen Street.
It up. He's not chopping it up with me like he's a B-dog. I'm like, man, you may want to consider
not wearing that color.
Yeah, because that's not you. But I do understand that he
got to walk to and from school and get there with his lunch money.
He's got to be in that environment.
Wow.
And he's got to appear to be at least affiliated.
Down-ish.
At least down-ish. Down-ish, right.
What I will say is my challenge comes from where you have a young officer who may have been with a very strong training officer, and that youngster who's told, like, hey, once you get off probation, you can kind of do things the way you want to do, does not sit back and take a breather and look at all of the dynamics or behaviors that he or she has seen and take the advice to do things the way they feel they should be doing that are consistent with the policy, because the policy is not
wide enough.
Well, no, but the policies are based on laws that people, when you vote in legislators, and if you don't vote, you don't have a voice on how laws should be.
But, but see, you said something that tied into what you said, and this is a big bone of contention for me in law enforcement hiring practices. That blue line you talked about?
Yes, sir.
that officer who's influenced by that strong training officer to go this certain way, law enforcement recruits, selects, trains, and retains conformists.
Right.
You are selected based on your ability to conform. You being in the Marine Corps, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
They're checking your grades and your credit, and how did you pay your rent on time? Were you your last job? Were you late, or were you a good employee? All those things to see how well you conform to a certain culture wherever you are,
and how much risk you pose to that organization.
Right,
gives you a chance.
Yes,
at a career. Who says you will represent what these people within this geographical subdivision want? And the example is 2. You remember I mentioned earlier about my son going off?
Yeah.
He didn't conform to the Williams way that I thought he should have. But I had to be wise enough to recognize that the youngest and the one that during the most liberalist times in our society, my son might be gravitating towards certain things that I have to be open to accept.
But your son, what you probably are looking at is social evolution.
Right, that's what he means.
Right.
I think that's exactly what you're saying.
I'm accepting that.
Yeah.
The other point I was making is that if you hire somebody in Culver City to be a police officer, or Pasadena, versus the city of LA, you're going to have a lot more expectation of conformity to the way that community is,
because it's a smaller department,
the culture of the city.
Right.
You see those things immediately, because when I first started on the job, I won't mention where I was working, but I'll say this: if you were anywhere west of Van Ness,
yeah,
and let's say hypothetically between Florence and Century,
right,
we'd want to know, what are you doing in our city?
Oh,
When
yeah,
you run
yeah,
your
yeah,
plate and you live east of Van Ness, we want to know, what are you doing passing through? But I also learned that there was an expectation from the community that the police keep outsiders out, that if outsiders came in to shop in the city, that they love that, but they don't want you coming over being antisocial or criminal or being a miscreant in their town.
Miscreant.
But being a man who owns property and who wants my community to stay the same, and I don't want my tax.
You just described Torrance PD.
Well, yeah, okay.
There's another example of a city that the police were hell on somebody. Beverly Hills PD,
right?
Hell on you if you came from the outside, and if you're inside those city boundaries, man, these dudes are like butlers with guns, man.
Right?
And they're very polite, very genteel in their approach.
Jeeves is packing.
Exactly. But if you came from outside, man, doom on you.
Yeah, and
because they're going to be on that ass.
You have those residents that support the tax base. They support legislation.
Sure, they vote for the city council and the mayor and all that.
People who support the police and fire.
Right.
You have strong unions. I mean, there are a number of dynamics. Very much like somebody who watched the show we were talking about, the Tamir Rice situation, and I had to remind them that police officers, because of what they're asked to do, are afforded certain rights through the legislation that provides them job protections that the public doesn't often understand. Like people say, we shoot some man, we get a vacation. We don't get a vacation. That's the most nervous period of your time on your job.
Because you don't know what's going to happen.
Because you don't know what's going to happen.
You ain't got to go to work, but you better be at home.
Yeah, you be at home between certain hours.
Yeah.
You in this day and age of social media, you don't know if someone is Googling you or your children.
Okay.
I mean, there are a number of issues there because people call us to deal with the shit they don't want to deal with.
Oh, yeah. Nobody goes, man, this party's going great. I know, let's call the cops. No, I say, yeah.
Exactly. But that's my point about conformity. And because we conform to that culture, we are not likely to break ranks with it. So once we start accepting, and this is why this thing about standards of grooming and tattoos and all those other things, people have a certain expectation that police officers will look and behave a certain way.
Right.
So we recruit for people who are going to conform to that standard, right? It just goes. It just speaks to that there's going to be some mental conformity there too, not just in your appearance.
Right.
You were in the Marine Corps. You know what I'm talking about.
Come on, man.
And you see,
Marines are a certain way, and soldiers are another way.
Absolutely.
Think of the nobility. Think of the nobility associated with being a Marine.
Yes.
You know, I heard somebody say a former Marine.
There's no such thing.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
There's no such thing. Now, I'm glad you bring that up. The Marines that shout out to Ham 16 Avionics. The Marines that I served with, the Marines that I knew personally, of every color, despised shitty Marines.
Right. Oh, sure.
If you are a shitty Marine, you can't be around the rest of us because I may have to depend on you to save my life.
It's
Marines
the same way in law enforcement.
Oh,
it's the same way in law enforcement for that reason. If your tactics are poor and you're dangerous, you got to go.
Okay,
now,
well then why?
Now, hey, you could get away with being brutal before you can get away with being a poor tactician.
Okay, well, no. I am going to submit that brutality out of place is the earmark of a poor tactician.
Because it's going to create issues
because
for
it
everybody.
creates issues, okay?
Sure.
If that were the case, where was the extreme outrage from the police department over the Rodney King video, over the Tamir Rice video?
Well,
I mean, the extreme. Why is this? Here's a question.
I can clearly tell you, those were two different times, first of all, because the male white bastion that you had leading LAPD in its upper ranks, they were part of the culture. They were a that was every day of the culture. Sure. No, I'm gonna tell you this, and I want you to look at this. They were a byproduct of the culture associated with those persons that they came up under. Difference with Tamir Rice. Didn't I bring up the issue about going code 6 and tactics?
Right.
Things that we do here that say you should be doing things before you get on scene with a man with a gun, that you come on the radio and you say, I'm almost on scene, so that the other people responding know that you're there, they know where you are, and if you need a different munition, you put it out. I have a rifle, I have a less lethal. You want to say these things because those lend themselves to the use of superior tactics. Okay. Now the difference is you had a lot of people in law enforcement that criticized those guys rolling up on that park like that. But also
we rolled up. We did that here on the show. We were critical of it, and then they kind of explained why that happened.
That made sense to me as to like the snow and the grass being wet.
But you're talking about two situations that could be seen different ways. Let's use a better example. Walter Scott. There is no defending the Walter Scott murder.
Exactly.
Okay.
Any kind of way.
Right.
So where then?
That's the example you want to use. I knew police officers, all of my police friends privately, or even maybe on Facebook, would say this is murder, this has no place.
Right.
I'm gonna speak out against this, but there was no press conferences called to denounce it. There is no any of that. You're right.
I say the same thing with the gay movement, the LBGT movement. When Ferguson went down, how come I didn't see the Indian from the Village people there? How come I did not see en masse gays standing up and going, hey, since you want to compare, since y'all every now and then go, yo, homie, let me borrow your struggle.
Right, it's like being black.
Yes.
Sure, damn.
Let me borrow your struggle real quick.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's gold right there.
If you are really going to compare yourself
that's called
to
appropriation.
Us, yes. If you're going to borrow my rent, lease my struggle, then when my shit hits the fan, where are you saying en masse as gays this shit is wrong? When something goes down, if I was dumb enough to leave here and rob a liquor store or be accused of robbing a liquor store, my face would be plastered everywhere, as would be my name. Why is it that when a police officer or a police officer involved shooting that is obviously dirty, something wrong, why are the police shielded from the court of popular opinion?
Well, I can answer one about law enforcement. The groups of guys that I work with, we talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
There is a law, there's case law that allows you to shoot a fleeing felon. The difference was this wasn't a felon.
Right.
And
it didn't fit the criteria at all.
It didn't fit the criteria for fleeing felon. So the parts of the video we saw, we criticized. We openly criticized, and I'm talking about guys.
But there was no press conference. But there was no banner ads.
Y'all didn't rent a blimp. Y'all got a blimp.
Well, I would say this much. I don't know why that was not done, but I do know we had some really robust conversation about that, and we even went over the criteria for fleeing felon as to when you can shoot one, why you can shoot one, and what you better have.
And
if you decide,
did anybody try to support it or try to say this is why it was cool?
No,
I didn't hear that at all. I didn't hear that.
It's not enough.
And you know,
right? Because what you're saying is
not enough.
It needs to be a public outcry. But I will tell you this: most of the complaints that get police officers terminated come from other police officers.
Yeah,
it's just not drawn out there in the public eye like that because they like to keep the dirt quiet. But I know guys who almost went to prison for shit that never made the news.
Yes,
and they got fired for it.
Yes,
and got convicted, indicted and convicted. Just barely escaped prison, didn't make the news.
And that is a problem.
But I mean, that happens in a lot of industries. I mean,
But those other industries are not. And let's do away with this fallacy, that the police are here to protect and serve the people. You're not.
The police are the public. The police are the public.
The police are here to protect and serve commerce. Commerce. You serve commerce.
Well,
you mean as far as issuing tickets, or what do you mean?
You're saying
here's what I mean. The police's chief job is to make sure that shit flows smooth, so people keep going to work and buying shit.
I wouldn't say it's to buy stuff.
You mean to maintain order in society, so society can function to allow people to buy shit and go to work.
The concept of civility
means that you could be free to walk and go where you choose, to shop where you choose.
That's the commerce. That's the commerce part.
That's the big deal.
But what I'm saying is all of those things are so intertwined, because let me tell you something. If you have a neighbor that keeps causing you problems, and all of a sudden you've called the police. First you tried to take care of it yourself, and then it got to a point where someone else got involved and they burned your house down. Of course, commerce is going to be involved in that, because you have insurance companies. You're going to have an arson investigation. You're going to have people that have to. You're going to have to repay. Somebody's going to have to repay for your house to be built. That's a relationship with commerce. We have a big problem where people are getting robbed and stuck up for iPhones.
Well, see, that's
we're not trying to stop Apple products from being lost. We're trying to keep somebody from continuing to rob people to a point to where they end up killing somebody.
Okay. What you are discussing is that's a fly in the oatmeal. You're talking about a fly. I'm talking about the oatmeal. Okay, the overall concept. This is where the mafia, and this is what y'all are flirting with right now. When I say y'all, I mean the police state as a system nationwide. In Italy, because the police didn't give a damn, that's not what I mean. The police didn't give a fuck about the citizens.
He ramped it up. I think he's going to ramp it down.
The citizens needed to be protected. So they went to the tough guys in the neighborhood and went, look, we need some help. So the tough guys in the neighborhood started taking care of the neighborhood. And for that, you had to pay those tough guys. And that's where the mafia was born. What is going to have to happen is somehow there's going to have to be a line between y'all and us that we are responsible for with regard to us. That's what's going to happen.
But I think the public is responsible. You have to just look at it from this perspective. Eric Garcetti gets elected as the mayor. The mayor has the ability to appoint people to the police commission.
Right. Absolutely.
You have a police commission right now that is fighting with the police department. It's a long draw.
Well, it's because of some people who are appointed to the commission.
Yes,
the officers, the rank and file have an issue with that.
Right. And so Charlie Beck knows, as well as the police officers.
And that's chief of LAPD for those of you who live outside the state.
The police commission.
Absolutely.
Now, what you have to do is you have to have someone there who's going to stand up to those issues. Like you see this change in now looking at de-escalation instead of using force. We've been practicing that for years, but now, I mean, we've been doing it where we can. You don't want to just go and shoot and kill somebody.
Well, yeah.
You try to diffuse a situation. You
Absolutely.
try to de-escalate it. Now it's been codified. It's been put in writing, and it says you shall you shall take every step.
There's an obligation now, an actual overt obligation. That is no longer implied.
Right, and that is part of doing the people's work. But the more and more we have people who are able to go in the ballot box or the ballot booth and put a ballot in the box, the more the people can have a say about who polices, how they police, when they're policed, but
who chooses the leadership of the police.
Yeah, and that's, but I'm saying that, but that's the reality, though.
I think, and again, I catch so much heat for this. I think that voting is about as relevant to our problem at this point as trying to fix your power windows while your car's on fire.
But not on the local level.
I disagree.
Local level, I have to disagree with you.
Because you're very intelligent.
Absolutely.
I can hear that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm just saying, I think that's skewed thinking.
Okay, well, let me get across the street. I'm trying to cross the street. Cars keep coming. All right. Here's what I think is a much better alternative. We are trying to fight this problem as a community from the bottom. We should be, and it's not going to happen. Everybody thinks that the solution needs to happen in 6 months. Over time, what needs to happen is we need to be how Asian people are. Asian people have handled none of their problems from the bottom. They handle them from the top. Who is the constant?
Use an example like the Korean community here in Los Angeles, Koreatown, et
yes.
cetera.
Well, yes. And the Koreans, Chinese, and the Japanese are rank and file, systematically, every time you count, the lowest in voter turnout. Because they're not voting that way.
Right, but see, you're picking a culture of first of all,
yes,
this is America. We are Americans, and if we're talking about a black community problem, one of our biggest challenges is a lack of education.
Absolutely.
We know what we want when we see it, but again, that formalized education that teaches you. If we took a number of African Americans that didn't have, let's say they had the A through G requirements that are required in high school.
Okay.
And we get them involved in a community college and we get them their general education, they will produce a better written product. Mm-hmm. They will speak, their analytical skills will be better, and they will be able to think about taking steps based on, if nothing, reading History 11, History 12, understanding where this country has been at, instead of hearing what somebody else says. The white man's going to do this. And the only reason why I'm saying that's important is because if we have that coupled with education, we have the education coupled with going into the ballot booth, then we dictate who determines how our school system is built, how it works for us.
Here's the problem with that. What if I submit to you that History 11 and History 12 are actually folklore?
Let me say this. Even if it's
his story,
even if it's his story, that's where you get Socratic. That's where you get the Socratic movement, where you go, wait a minute, there's a gap here. It doesn't talk about what happened in across the street from Manual Arts in 1965. Or after the riots, or 69, or we see photos from the LA Times that give us reason to research why is there this gap between the Mayflower and the Black Panthers. If we don't get a sense of is it his story or is it our story? There are brothers that don't even know what happened at UCLA.
Absolutely.
Between Bunchy Carter and the Panthers, that dictated a hell of a lot of the violence on our streets in this community.
Now, what I'm saying is that when you reach back, I don't think that you turn the clock back far enough. When you say they don't understand what happened, I think we need to go all the way back to the Moors. I think we need to go way back.
I had a great conversation with my boy Fell yesterday about that exact same thing. It gives you the worldview because you're not seeing images of Africans portrayed as conquerors, as people with with these aspirations to build an empire and all that, right?
I think,
you don't have that you don't have that sense of place rooted in history as being other thing than a fucking slave.
I will tell you are absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm.
They're mad because Hannibal was being portrayed as a black man. Now, did you see that?
The challenge you will have is look at what you have today in our young black men and women.
Yes.
Look at what drives them. look at what they value.
Yes.
And then you have to be it's like you can't just go and give a 4-year-old a can of Red Bull.
Okay.
I don't know how to better
I feel
say
you.
it.
I feel you.
If you don't give them a little slice of how to research it and understand it, meaning improving their English competency,
getting them up there,
improving
right,
their
sure.
analytical skills, because we know if we put 10,000 students through some program that takes them out of the street in LA today and straight into the moors, you're going to find a lot of illiterate, or you're going to find literacy is an issue. You're going to find
right, and they're not going to grasp the subject or be interested.
Here's where
I'd like to see them. I'd like to see.
You're saying like a prep program.
Here's
almost,
where I
before you get
challenge
to
that. Here's where I challenge that. One, those same people that you are discussing have an issue with learning because most of the time they're either learning from people who do not look like them or from people who look like them who do not feel like them. Now, if you were to take those same people, and when you say you or we need to teach them, who is we?
Well, I'm part of we because I'm a community college instructor.
Okay, there we go.
And I keep it real.
Now, and if I may ask, what course of
justice,
story?
Administration of justice.
What course of study? Okay.
And the challenge that I have with that is I don't see enough people in those classes that look like me or that look like my kids.
Because you're not going to, brother.
Well, and here's what I'm saying. The ones that I do see and the ones that are sitting in my class,
yeah,
I do what I believe is my part to educate them about the dynamics and those challenges before they get on the job because there's not enough people telling them. And I do explain to them, listen, in the same vein as we talked about Stephanie, it's what you see. It's what you believe is what you want. It's
you create your own reality.
Yes,
right.
And you act. You need to conform to something you want to be part of. And I'm saying it's the same as the Marine Corps. The people that know they want to be Marines and go into the Marines know what to expect. The people that don't. And it brings me to what was the movie? Oh my God, how could I forget this? The kid shot himself on
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket. There are people who, as you know, as an instructor, I say it's true. We all learn differently.
Yes,
definitely.
Some people, they don't have the bandwidth to go through basic training or the academy. When we have day zero and people show up, you come back the next day and you've lost 4 or 5 people because day zero was too much for them. This is the administrative part of, hey, we're getting ready to get you ready for something.
You still getting yelled at and you still got to do push-ups and all that.
And
but
the thing is
the yellow footprints in your parlance. Yellow footprints.
Yellow footprints.
And so all I'm saying is that yes, we do, brother, and I'm glad you said that. We have a responsibility. I believe that where I'm able to impact that I have, but I'm saying that we just have you go to court and you testify against somebody and you use basic SAT or lower vocabulary. And then you have to remind yourself to use a 5th grade vocabulary. And then you sit back and you got a guy jumping up from the chair. He's lying on me. He's lying on me. He said I did this. He said I did that. The judge is like, that's what the officer said you did. And I'm using a 5th grade.
Right, but he didn't catch that.
He didn't catch that.
But see, the thing is we have to start early before they even get to community college level and make our priorities to learn. That it's cool to learn.
Somebody
it's
needs
okay
to
to
step
learn.
into that breach.
That's the breach.
Somebody. There needs to be an official ghetto stenographer in court. Hey, homie.
This is what he meant.
This is what homie meant. This is what dude meant.
And translator. We got translators.
Yeah, Spanish people got a translator.
Yeah,
how come ain't no homie translator?
Well, I'm just saying. I get the humor.
I want to be the first homie translator.
I get the humor.
I'm dead serious.
No, but I'm saying that should not be. We have, at minimum, when people complain about the educational system we have people that aren't even operating at those levels.
Well, and that's where we have to start and roll back and lay a foundation where there's priorities that involve where kids want to learn and want to grow up to speak intelligently and to have an intelligent conversation with people.
I can't.
But now I'm looking at the producer. The producer's giving me side eye because our time is getting there. Our time is past, actually. We've run.
Did we pass? Did we run the light, Miss Morris?
We did.
Did I say how good you look in that dashiki with that beautiful yellow skin?
You saw her hair, too? Her hair's all bouncing and behaving?
Oh, yeah, Miss Thang. Hey, Miss Thang. I like her with short hair, though. When she used to wear like her hair real short with these big earrings, and I had in my head that it was some dude in an apartment in the fetal position sucking his thumb, waiting on her to get back. Yeah, that's Miss Morris. How you
But look, you and I had this conversation, and you and I have great conversations offline, and I'm really glad that we were able to have you come in tonight.
My man, anytime.
And to have this conversation with my man JB here.
I mean, I think it's great. I think this should actually be another show.
Have we not talked about that?
You know.
Have we not talked about that?
Comes up every time I show up.
Have we not talked about that?
Yeah, everybody's talking about that. Fucking Geoff Brown needs to be on somebody's show. I don't know.
I think hey Jeff, I think the discussion, I think people who are from varied walks of life, people who are in different professions.
Yeah.
And I even think that's
what we call it, the discussion.
The
discussion on
I
Morris
don't
Media
know
Live.
if I'm using the appropriate term, but satirist.
A humorist, right?
Yeah,
like
a humorist, yes.
Yeah,
most important job on earth.
I think it is very important. The dynamic is that a lot of times people don't want to hear the truth, and especially they don't want to hear
on both ends.
On both ends,
right?
But we are seeing a change in law enforcement that if you're not in it, you really hence is sometimes where if you do have seen it, the conflicts between Gil and I.
Oh no, I've never seen it, but I can imagine.
Oh
well,
yeah,
because
to me, I don't.
Watch the show from not last week because we didn't have a show, but week before last.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that show.
It's a different.
It's a showing implicit bias in law enforcement.
Yeah, it's a different time, and the thing is I came in.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap like the Sugar Hill game.
You know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this because this is what happens. If I'm gonna treat this like I do when my wife says she's ready to go, because if I am anywhere other than in the car with my seatbelt on, I'm wasting time. Don't matter who she talking to.
There we go.
So I'm going to do this shit right here.
Listen, thanks for joining us. And if you got any comments, leave them on the YouTube page down here.
I'm slowing down.
And we'll get back to those next week. Make sure you leave your comments down here. Shout out to Geoff Brown for showing up. Thanks to JB. And the music is playing, so we're out.